Why are the Cowboys taking so long to sign Dak Prescott? Why are they taking so long to sign CeeDee Lamb? And when are they going to start talking about Micah Parsons? Let's check it out.
Hey, this is a test of how great we can be, right? Here we go.
So before we start, just to set the record straight, this is not going to be an apologizing session for Jerry Jones or Stephen Jones or anybody in the front office. This is just me not dogpiling on and maybe providing some context on the other side of the fence where maybe people aren't thinking about what actually goes in to getting these deals done. So point number one, there's this perception that teams can just get deals done whenever they want to. If it makes sense for the team, the deal should get done. No questions asked. But what people forget is there's two sides to this thing, all right? And the agents are just as responsible for what's going on as the teams are. So for example, CeeDee Lamb, right? People are saying they should have extended CeeDee Lamb last year when his price was lower, and his price would have been lower. But let me ask you this question. If his price was lower last year, why would CeeDee Lamb and his agent agree to an extension at that point? The only negative thing that can really happen to CeeDee Lamb is injury, all right, through the 2023 season. We all knew his play has been improving. He's still a young guy. He's still on his first contract. He's only getting better as the years go by. So common sense dictates that he would have, at worst, the same season he had in 2022, which was still a pretty good season. Or he's betting on himself to have a better season, in which case he did. He set all sorts of records, had one of the best seasons in franchise history, and so he's earned more money. So I guess my question is, yes, it would have been better for the team to get a deal done last year, but would it have been better for CeeDee Lamb and his agent? And you know, these agents, they all work together. They all know each other. They're bouncing their deals off of one another. They're trying to maximize what they're getting for their clients. So, and the NFLPA actually encourages colluding amongst the agents. There's no rules against it. And so why would CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson not wait until the last minute to sign their deals when their price is only going up and up and up? And now at this point, the bar is kind of set for Lamb. This thing could get done at any point, but I want to get into why the Cowboys now are probably erring on the side of caution in how they actually structure these deals. So point number two, here we go. The average per year is what everybody talks about, and it's a good barometer for how much a deal is worth, okay? But what I'm interested in is how do they stagger these cap hits? All right, so I looked at Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson, and Nick Bosa, all right, because those are the three positions, the highest paid players of those positions that the Cowboys are looking at right now. Micah's gonna make more than Bosa, okay? It's been a few years since Bosa's deal anyways, and Micah is kind of a chess piece. You can move him around, whatever. He's going to be the highest paid, probably non-quarterback in the league here at some point. All right, so he'll get more than Bosa. And CeeDee Lamb, apparently Jerry Jones said that, or Stephen Jones, I forget which one it was, but they said that CeeDee Lamb wants to be the highest paid non-quarterback, meaning he wants to get paid higher than Justin Jefferson. I don't know if that's true. I don't think that's going to happen. He might make the same, maybe a smidge less than Justin Jefferson, but his deal is going to be right about there as well. And then you look at Joe Burrow. He's the highest paid quarterback in the league, and you look at his cap hit percentages and all that. And now you take a look at Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and Micah Parsons, okay? So Justin Jefferson and Nick Bosa, they average about, over the course of their deals, about 15% of their team's cap annually. Some years are a little lower, some years are a little bit higher, but you can assume that Micah and CeeDee are going to hit for, on average, about 15% of the team's cap. Now, the cap goes up about $10 million per year on average. I know we have some litigation, some stuff with the DirecTV going on that might not go up, might go down, might stay the same, could go up, who knows. But just using the $10 million per year, their cap hits are going to be about 15% of the cap per year. That's 30% right there. Now you look at Dak Prescott, and the thing to remember with Dak Prescott is this. Okay, this is what people are forgetting. Currently, Dak Prescott, there's $40 million in void money on the books for Dak Prescott right now. Void money is basically a result from restructures or the way the deal's structured. It's money that's put into fake years beyond the player's contract. So Dak signed through 2024, meaning if he's not extended by 2025, then that $40 million all accelerates and hits the books right away. You get a $40 million cap hit immediately, okay? They restructured him this offseason and added 3 years to his void money, meaning they're working actively on an extension, so that's a positive sign. But that means that now when the Cowboys extend Dak, or if they extend Dak, they can take that $40 million and extend it out through 2028. Okay. Now that's $40 million in cap hit money on top of whatever they extend him to. So if they do a $60 million average deal times 4 years, that's what, 6 12, that's $240 million, right? I don't know how much that's going to be guaranteed. That's all in the details and the structure and how it works out with Jerry and co. Okay. But now you've got to add another $40 million in cap money on top of that 240. Now you're at 280. Again, he's not guaranteed the whole thing depending on how the structure is built. But that's now 280 you've got to kind of account for, assuming he's going to be here throughout the duration of his contract. And $40 million of that's not going to Dak. That's already been accounted for in Dak's pocket. It just hasn't been accounted for on the team's cap charges. That's money they spent on a credit card, pushed down the road, and is now due. They have to pay it at some point, whether that's going to be all at once or stretched out over the extension. All right. So now the other part of this is his agent, Todd France. He loves these 4-year contracts. You look at Joe Burrow, his cap hit is lightened a smidge because he took a 5-year deal instead of a 4-year deal. Okay. There's a good chance. So Dak's going to be 35, 36 years old if he signs a 4-year deal. He might have one more 3-year contract in him at that point. So it might make sense for Dak to do a 4-year deal. Okay. It would help out the Cowboys immensely if he took a 5-year deal, because that means they can take his cap, and they can stretch that out an extra year. So it's not as painful. But I have a feeling, this is just my instincts telling me based on the history with Todd France, his agent, that his agent is fighting for a 4-year deal. Okay, that's just a guess. Just a guess. And if that's the case, that sucks for the Cowboys. That is a very big number to account for over the next 4 years. All right. So now you can assume Dak is going to be on the hook for, the low end is probably 15% of the cap per year. We're probably looking low to mid 20s. So we'll just say, for the sake of this thing, 20% of the cap per year average. So you take all 3 of those guys now, you're talking 50%, roughly, give or take a little bit, 50% of the cap per year. I know Jerry Jones came out and said 70-75% of the cap. That's, I think, typical Jerry Jones kind of exaggeration, and that would be a worst case scenario. I did the math, and I'm showing on the screen here, but did the math, and you could see where there could be, if the cap hits, the peaks of their cap hits intersect at the wrong times, you could be upwards of 60% of the cap for those 3 guys. But I'm assuming the Cowboys are going to backload probably CeeDee and Micah, knowing they're most likely to get extensions again down the road, and they'll push some of that cap money further into the future. So you can take that 15% and probably lower a little bit as well, assuming they're going to do restructures and put some void years on this thing and make it fit maybe a little bit easier than that 50%. All right, but just at face value, 50% of the cap, you could say probably aggressively, if they do backload those deals, maybe 35-40% of the cap. All right. Now you got to keep in mind too, Cowboys have other players coming up as well. You've got Deron Bland, who looking like an all-pro player perennially. We'll see, I guess. He had one really good season, so we'll see what else he does after this year. But he had an amazing season, so we're going to have to pay him coming up. You're going to have to pay Tyler Smith. All right, he's an all-pro. He's going to demand all sorts of cash. You're going to have to pay Jake Ferguson at some point here. So you've got a lot of rising star type players coming up that are going to demand pretty hefty sums here. All right, Cowboys were lucky they got Trayvon Diggs the way they did. That's a very team-friendly deal, even though he probably could have fetched more. He wasn't looking for record-signing money, so thank you, Trayvon Diggs, for taking less maybe than market dictated he should take. But you got to keep that in mind too. So can the Cowboys afford to pay 40 to 50% of the cap to 3 players, knowing they have these other all-pros and star players coming up down the pipeline as well? And after them, you've got to fill out the whole roster. So you've got guys on top of that you got to pay too, just to have a roster in place. So everybody's saying the Cowboys should have done this a bajillion years ago, should have been more proactive. Well, first off, we don't know if they were or they weren't. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. So I'm not going to kill them for that, because I don't know if they were or not. Again, the impetus is on both the team and the agent and the player to get this thing done, not just the team. It has to make sense for all parties to get the deal done. Okay. Second part is, how does the team puzzle piece this thing together to make the cap work in their favor so they can field an entire roster of suitable players and not just a top-heavy roster of 6-7 guys that are really good and the rest are either rookies, young guys on rookie deals, or just journeymen, not very good NFL players, and they're just kind of fitting bodies into where they have to fit them. So those are the challenges facing the Cowboys. And I would challenge you guys to maybe think outside the box in ways, maybe do a little research on how the cap works. I'm not a capologist, so there's things that I don't know about the cap, all right? This is just from looking up the contracts, seeing how the deals are structured around the league, and putting kind of 2 and 2 together and where they could be having some pitfalls in these contract situations for the Cowboys. I challenge you guys to go out and maybe do some research on deals. Go look at like Jalen Hurts on the Eagles. That's a really risky deal for the Eagles because if he flames out, he regressed in 2023, right? If he continues to regress and not develop into a pro-style passer who can make proper pre- and post-snap reads, the Eagles might be in trouble here in a few years. If they don't extend him, I think the year is 2028. And in 2028, they've got over $1 million in dead money they got to deal with. That's accelerated on Hurts' contract. So they kind of put all their eggs in that basket, and you're going to see them slow down in the coming years on signing all these free agents because the cap is now getting to the point where the Cowboys are at, where they've paid their stars, and now it's catching up to them here in the next couple of years. So you can't just make things up. You can't just make the cap work for you. It's not completely malleable. Yes, there's levers in place where you can work and finesse and kind of massage the cap, but it is a real thing that really exists, and you've got to make it work for the entire team, the organization, and not just a handful of players. So let me know what you guys think, and I appreciate you listening. Catch you later.
Hey, this is a test of how great we can be, right?